All righty, here we go. So I say we go ahead and get started. I just want to mention right away, if you see me looking off this way, that's because I have a laptop over here beside me, so I can see you all in gallery view. So I'm super excited to be here tonight. Let's paint, shall we? So I'm painting at home tonight because of this whole pandemic situation. Trying to stay home as much as possible. Studio's been closed since mid-March, end of March, which makes me sad, but I'm so happy you all are here because this is a bright spot. This is fantastic. And we have 113 logged in. So that's a record so far, which is super exciting. Somebody just, I saw it come across the chat, will this be recorded? So yes, I am recording tonight. I always record on Zoom, but the recordings aren't great. I'm recording on a GoPro. So we'll see. My hope is later tonight or first thing in the morning to get it edited and push it out on the studio's YouTube channel. Look over at the chat feature in the side. I pasted a link to the YouTube channel. So you can look there, copy that link, subscribe to the channel. And my hope is every time something like this is done, that's where it goes. I already have 10-minute Technique Tuesday videos there. So go check that out. What else? I posted a private party there. Tracy, your party's over there. Go check it out. What else? I don't know what else. Let's get started. So just like if we were at the studio, we would want to do inventory first. So first things first, let's make sure we have an apron or a paint shirt, the paint that I'm using, and if you ordered paint from me, the paint that came in your kit, just like the paint we use at the studio, it's acrylic paint, Dick Blick acrylic student grade paint. It's acrylic, which is lovely because you can thin it down with water if you need to. You can clean it up with water, but if you get it on your clothing and it dries, it's a bear to get out. So make sure that you have your paint shirt on. Make sure you have an apron, something. If you have a good shirt and you don't have access to a paint shirt, flip your shirt inside out. That way you're getting paint on the inside and not the outside of your shirt. My bulldog, I don't know if you can hear it, but she keeps giving little boofs. She has decided to participate tonight, evidently. So let's move this out of the way. So inventory, make sure you have paint shirt, paint apron, something. Tonight we have stretched canvases. You may be painting on something different, and that's fine. I know we're all painting on, because we're gathering our supplies from all different places, we're all painting on different things. That's okay. But if you got supplies from the studio, you got a stretched canvas. So a stretched canvas is stretched and wrapped around a wooden frame, right? I love the ones that are wrapped around and stapled on the back. Sometimes you get canvases that are stapled on the sides. Those are okay, but you almost have to frame those or do something else with those. These, because they're wrapped around and stapled on the back, you can paint the edges and not have to worry about framing it or doing anything with it. Once you're done painting, it's done. So I'm going to try to remind you, if you're painting on a stretched canvas tonight, I'm going to try to remind you to wrap around and paint those edges, because then your painting is finished. You don't have to frame it. You don't have to do anything else with it. And if you're painting on something else, that's cool too, right? So let's talk about paint. I think I started to say this earlier and then lost my train of thought because, you know, she derails quite frequently. I just now got my paint out because I'm painting at home. I have not turned the air on yet. So it's a little warm in here. It's a little humid. If you're painting at someplace where it's a warmer temperature, or if you're painting outside and you're in the sun, I love painting outside. I think that might be my next 10-minute Technique Tuesday, talking about special things you have to do to be able to paint outside. Oh, I see. You see, I'm watching comments come across. You see something in the corner that says it's recording. I am recording Zoom. I'm also recording on a GoPro, so we'll post it up later. Watch for that on the Crooked Door Studio Facebook page. So I'm just now getting my paint out because if it's warm, humid, paint dries really fast, the warmer and the more humid it is, which seems odd, but that's the way it is. So I've just now gotten it out. So let's take a look at my palette. Tonight, my colors, and your colors might look a little different. It's okay. We're going to use what we have. I have a healthy amount of white. You can't see it there. A healthy amount of white. Probably don't need that much yellow. I got a lot of yellow. We'll see. Red for my truck. If you're not doing a red truck, you may not need red at all. Blue. What am I going to use the blue for? For the sky. That's right. Green for my grass. And I don't have very much green there because the green I'm using, and if you got supplies from the studio, the green that you're using is Phthalo Green. Phthalo Green is really powerful. It's going to be really strong, so it's not going to take much Phthalo Green. And then I have a decent amount of black. I'll show you about that in a little bit. So if you did, since we're talking about paint, if you did get supplies from the studio, I know some of you commented and said, oh my gosh, I ordered way too much paint. So you're getting paint in these little 2-ounce, shouldn't call them Jello shot containers, but that's what I'm going to call them. If you're getting paint from the studio, this is what you're getting. It's usually enough paint, except for white, because we use a lot of white. It's enough paint for a couple paintings. And if you put the lid back on it, it'll stay. Like I have containers that I've been using for 4 weeks now. As long as I get the lid back on it tight, it'll keep. So just wanted to mention that. If you're looking for supplies, check out the studio's Facebook page. I have all the details posted there on how you can get supplies from the studio. Okay, back to inventory. I have a cup of water. I like to use, I know in the studio we use solo cups. I like to use jars. I use these a lot at the studio too. A jar is going to be nice and heavy and you're less likely to knock it over as opposed to a solo cup. I have it filled halfway up with cool water. Cool or cold, never warm or hot. If you use warm or hot water, it will change when you put your brush in there. It will almost dry the paint on your brush. So cool or cold. And then let's talk about the brushes that we have tonight. So we have a big brush for the background. Okay, just something big and fluffy. It's going to hold a lot of paint to cover the background. I also have a medium brush. Mine is a filbert. You might have a flat brush. It's flat, it's skinny here, but it's kind of wide. And my filbert just means it's curved on the end. Okay, yours might be flat on the end. That's okay, just some kind of a smaller brush. And then I have a pointy brush. Okay, so those three, I'm going to take those, pop them in my water cup, and leave them there. If we're painting someplace where it's warm, humid, if you're painting outside, you especially have to keep those in your water cup so they don't dry out. Okay, and then extra things that I have on my napkin. Ooh, make sure you have napkins. Make sure you have paper towels. I have a floofy brush. I put in the comments that you need something for, oh, if you got brushes for me, which one is pointy? It is, let me look at the number. It's this guy. It is a number, I'm using a number 5. The number is right there on the handle, a pointy number 5. You might have a 5 or an 8, maybe a 3, something like that. Okay, also in my supplies, I have a floofy brush that, yep, a 6 works, that you could use for clouds. I found a random sponge down in my paint supplies. I might use that for clouds. You don't have to have it, but it might be fun to play with clouds. If you don't have either one of these things for clouds, you can use a paper towel. Last week we used a paper towel, so I'll show you how that works. Other random supplies. I have a pencil, just for giggles. You may not need one. I have a paint pen. Again, just for giggles. You may not need it, but I always have it. I'm really bad about signing my paintings with a paintbrush. I don't have, for whatever reason, I don't have control of that brush when it comes to signing my name. So I always sign with a paint pen. So I'm going to set those things to the side. Okay. Inventory done. I think we're ready to get started. All right. So let's see. Let's get going. So let's talk about our painting tonight. So you may not be able to see, but I did a little bit of sketching because the inspiration painting is not mine. It's just something that somebody sent me and I said, that looks beautiful, let's paint it. So it says, I put on the picture down at the bottom corner, it's not mine. It's just our inspiration. So me trying to figure out how to do this, I put a couple little guidelines on there. And I know it's really hard to see because it's in pencil, but I know about 2/3 of the way over, about 3/4 down, like this whole section. Let me set this down. That whole section, here we go. About 1/3 of the way over here. This is all going to be truck. So I don't have to cover it all with sky and ground, but I think I'm probably going to. But remember, this section right here in the middle on the left-hand side, it's going to be covered with truck. So that's enough chitty chat. Let's get started. Okay, if you have new brushes that you've gotten from the studio, and if you have old brushes, it's dual purpose. If you have new brushes, get them in that water cup. We're going to squish those guys around. I'm tapping in the bottom of the cup. New brushes, when they come from the factory, they put almost like a starch on them to keep them nice and stiff and rigid during shipping. So you want to make sure, work that guy in that cup a little bit, tap, soften him up. The same goes if you have an old brush. You want to tap in the cup, loosen him up a little bit, right? He might be kind of stiff. He's had a lot of paint in him. Okay, so big brush. Find your biggest brush. That's that big oval wash. This is actually an oval wash. It's just seen better days. It's just not looking very ovally anymore, but I love it. Dry it off on your paper towel. And let's paint the sky. So I'm going to start up at the top and work my way down a little better than halfway. I'm going to make sure and get all the way across because here I have the window of my truck, and if you look at the original painting, you can actually see through the truck window to the sky. So let's make sure and paint that whole sky. So big brush, dried off on your paper towel. Anytime you take paint, go in the edge, never the middle. You don't want to mess everything up. So I'm going to pull a big old chunk of white. And I'm using phthalo blue, and I know phthalo blue is super powerful. So I'm going to use just the teeniest little bit there. Okay. And let's start up here, and let's go back and forth and back and forth and paint that sky. And again, we're going about halfway down that canvas. Okay. Every time I take paint, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not going to mix it ahead of time. I want that blue to shift and change and be a little different each time. So if I grab paint each time like that, big chunk of white, little squish of blue, it's going to be different every time. Ooh, that got a little darker. And the brush stroke that I'm using for this, your brush stroke can be whatever it's going to be. My brush stroke is, somebody said it last week, it's almost like an infinity symbol, right? It's an X, but it's very flat, like an infinity symbol. Oop, I'm going to get the edges. I'm going to get that tippy top. I want that painting to be wrapped all the way around. And again, I'm going down about halfway, all the way across. This is the part of the painting where we breathe it out, right? Oh, we let it all go. Lot of white, little blue, back and forth and back and forth. And something has got the bulldog upset. I may have to go handle that here in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and paint my sky, paint my edges. If clouds make you really nervous, because this painting has a big old cloud bank across there, if clouds make you super duper nervous, keep your sky whiter. Use a lot more white. That way if the clouds go sideways, they're not going to be super duper obvious, right? My sky is kind of dark up here, so the contrast of putting white clouds is going to be really bold. So if they make you nervous, keep your sky really light blue, and your clouds won't be so, you know, that's technical art term. And again, if we were in the studio right now, I would tell you to breathe. It's all okay. However your painting happens is how it happens. It is what it's supposed to be. I think the biggest part of being an artist is letting go of expectations. I know we always have an idea of what I do anyway. When I start in on something, I always have an idea of what I think it should be. It rarely turns out that way. And I just have to accept it and embrace it for what it is. So this will be kind of fun tonight to see how my painting turns out compared to the original painting. And I already know it's going to be different. If you look at the original painting, it appears to be watercolor. So just by using a different medium, it's going to be different. So now remember, as we paint, acrylic paint only blends when it's wet. When it's dry, it turns to plastic. It will not blend. So I'm making sure to get it just how I want it while it's wet, and then I'm going to stop touching it. Because if you keep messing with it, at some point, you'll start to pick up half-dried paint, and it'll start to get weird and curdly and gross, and that's not what we want. So I'm going to get to where I think I like it. Kind of different shades of blue, very swishy. Get my edges. Edges. Here we go. Okay. And then when I'm done, brush and water cup. Okay. So now look at it, depending on how your light is where you're painting. You want to get a different perspective on it every now and then, move around. You want to make sure you don't have any speckles. You don't want to see the canvas weave peeking through. If you can see the canvas weave, you're not using enough paint. Get a little more paint on there. Okay. So I have my sky done. No clouds yet. I want to let that dry a little bit. So I'm going to pop that brush in my water cup with his friends. I'm going to take a little break. It's 7:25. 7:30, I'll check back in. So right now, I'm going to go handle the bulldog and see what her situation is, because she's upset about something. So I'll give you 5 minutes. Keep working on that sky. I'll be back. Okay, so keep going, keep doing what you're doing. Again, you want to go about halfway down. My sky is it's a little darker, it's a little lighter. No clouds yet. We'll put those on in a little bit. But again, sky halfway down. Make sure to get your edges. Get the tippy top, get the left, get the right, wrap it around. Couple more minutes and we'll move on to the next section. So let's finish up that sky. Wait another minute or so. And when I say finish up, I just mean the blue. We're gonna move on to grass next. We're gonna put our fields of grass in there. Give our sky a little time to dry before we put clouds on it. Okay, it's 7:30. Let's go ahead and move on to the grass. So if you look at the original painting, there's a hill right here that's a lighter green and lighter, a little more yellowy green, and then the rest of it is a more, I hate to say traditional green, but a little less lime. So let's handle this hill in the back first. Now remember, our truck is going to come over not quite halfway across. It's a little more than a third, but not halfway. So take your big brush, clean it out. Doesn't have to be super clean. If there's a little blue in there, that's okay. But I'm going to tap, tap, tap in the bottom of the cup, clean it out, dry it off. And let me sketch this out for you. We have a hill. I'm going to take a little bit of green and just sketch it for you so you can see what direction we're going. So I have a hill that kind of does this. And then I have another rolling hill that kind of does that. Oop, I'm going to need to take it up. I didn't bring my sky down far enough. There we go. Okay. So this hill back here, I'm going to use the tiniest bit of phthalo green, a healthy portion of yellow, and a healthy portion of white. And again, I didn't mix them ahead. I let that happen on my canvas. Woo! And I'm going to get a lovely spring green there. Now, the question is, how far over this way do you come? You can come over as far as you think you need to. If you need to bring it all the way over, that's fine. Okay? Because when we get ready to paint that truck, I'll show you when it gets there, but we're actually going to paint the truck black first, because the red that we're using is too transparent. So we'll get to that later. So whatever you put over here, I know the black paint will cover it. So just to be safe, let's just paint it all the way over there. Sound like a plan? And then with that paint on my brush, I'm not going to rinse it out. I'm going to take a little more green and a little bit of white, about half and half, green and white. And let's paint this hill, ooh, down in front. And look at those lovely, swoopy brush strokes. And you want to come further than halfway. Further than halfway. If you go all the way, that's cool. Okay? So again, with my dirty brush that still has a little yellow in there, green and white, about half and half. And lovely, sweepy brush strokes. I have decided to just go all the way off the side because I want to make sure that I have paint everywhere, that I'm not going to have a gap where my truck goes. So green, white. And let's go all the way to the bottom. Now remember, acrylic paint blends while it's wet. You could get a little white yellow in there. I wouldn't be afraid. But you want a definite color change between the hill in the back and this foreground color, okay? And edges, don't forget your edges. Mine is much more green than the original painting. I'm embracing it, right? That's part of being an artist, is just embracing what happens. I evidently picked a green that made me happy. So again, the hill in the back is yellow, tiny green, tiny white. And then the foreground is add, don't rinse your brush, add green and white, half and half. Or maybe a little more white, that's up to you. Go. Got a little brighter in there. Optional, up to you. Okay, and edges, don't forget your edges. Get that bottom edge. When I'm done, I want that painting to be wrapped all the way around. Everybody breathing, let it out. There's no right or wrong here. It's going to be what it's going to be. You'll hear me say at the studio, when we paint, probably 90% of the time, well, 100% of the time, it's about process, not product, right? So as long as we enjoy the process, I love how paint feels in a brush. It just feels good, right? If I have a cool painting at the end, that's cool. But for me, it's not necessarily always about that. It's about how I feel when I'm doing it. It makes me feel good. So remember that. Keep that in mind. Okay. So it's 7:37. How about 7:45? We'll start to talk clouds. That should give everybody plenty of time to get the greens on there. Make sure when we come back for clouds that you have some clean white. I have managed to booger up just about all my white. So I'm going to take this opportunity and get some clean white. You might take this opportunity as well and get clean water, clean brushes. So we'll tap, tap, tap those in the bottom of the cup to get them nice and clean. Okay. And then get most of the paint out and then go to the sink and rinse out really good. Okay. So 7:45 we'll come back together. Oh, somebody asked 7:50. 7:50 it is. So 7:50. So that gives you 12 minutes, okay? And that's good because we want to give this plenty of time to dry as we start to layer things on top, okay? So 7:50 we'll move on. Okay, so I'm looking over at the chat feature. We still have 4 or 5 minutes, but I'm looking, not the chat feature, but I'm looking over at the, at everybody painting in the gallery view on Zoom, and I can see that activity has started to slow, so it looks like everybody's getting there. If you're done and just waiting, make sure that you've gone to get some clean water. I cleaned my big brush out really well, and get some clean white. We're gonna need that for clouds. In about 4 or 5 minutes, we'll move on. So I see the question, what do we need on the plate? So I have my paint palette that has all my colors. I'm going to get another plate. I have another plate, and I'm going to add just white to it for my clouds. If I need to add a little bit of blue to my clouds, I've got plenty here I can grab. So I'm going to get clean white right in the middle of this plate. Couple more minutes, we'll move on. Again, I'm so happy to have everybody here tonight. This makes my heart happy. The studio's closed. It's going to be closed for a while because I'm having issues trying to figure out how to maintain safe social distancing at the studio, because the studio is a social place. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. So we'll stay closed a little while longer, but again, I'm offering supplies at the studio in a locked cabinet. If you need information about that, check out Crooked Door Studio Facebook page. I have the information posted there. Supplies are really inexpensive to purchase through the studio, and I'll give you just what you need for the next week's painting. Next Saturday's painting, Saturday night at 7 p.m., I will hope to have that posted soon. Maybe tomorrow. That's my hope. So you'll have a week to decide if it's something you want to do or if it's something you want to wait on. In a perfect world, I would love to have a bunch of paintings posted ahead of time, but I'm not sure what I'm doing from day to day, so one at a time each week is all I can handle right now. So another minute or so, we'll move on. Again, make sure you have clean white. Oh, a hint. I'm feeling, somebody asked for a hint on the painting next week. I'm feeling water, maybe cattails, maybe grasses, something very springy. Maybe. Unless I find something before then and I change my mind. But I do have something in mind, and it makes me happy. Ooh, tropical. So we did kind of tropical last week. We did palm trees and a hammock between the palm trees. So, oh, a flower wreath welcome sign. That would be lovely. Let me think about that, Tracy. You can always send your ideas to, private message them to Crooked Door Studio on Facebook, or email me. I'm always looking for ideas, and I like to shake it up. So send me your ideas, okay? So it is 10 till, and like I said, we'll go ahead and move on now. Let's talk clouds. So clouds can be a little bit of a challenge if you've not done clouds before. I think this painting is beautiful without clouds. You can opt to go without. We're going to use colors that we've already used in the sky. We're going to use blue and white. So if things start to get weird, take that big brush, shush them back in, and decide today is not your day for clouds. Okay? But I would like you to try it. So for clouds, you need either, I have a random sponge. I could use that. I have a big poofy brush. He's seen lots of action at the studio, so he's all splayed out. I could use that. This is where I will never throw brushes away, because when I have brushes at the studio that are like they've seen better days, they feel like they should go in the trash. Those are perfect brushes for clouds, for flowers. So you want something nice and splayed out. If you don't have either of those things, you can use paper towel. So I have, we get half sheets of paper towels here because we go through them. So I'm going to fold it, and then I'm just going to kind of crinkle it up in a little ball. Right? I just created like a little stomper. Nothing fancy there, right? I just kind of crinkled it all up. and made myself a little stomper. So let's think about how clouds are made. Clouds are made by nature, right? We're going to copy that. As artists tonight, we're going to copy that. So they're usually, now there's a million kinds of clouds, but they're usually nice and bright and poofy on the top. And then they're kind of shaded and a little more flat along the bottom. Keep that in mind. When we were in grade school, we did clouds that were very poofy all the way around. They look like big cotton balls. There are some clouds that look like that, but not usually. If you look, I know earlier today, we had beautiful clouds. I was just looking to see if I could see them. We had beautiful clouds earlier today. Nice and poofy and bright white on the top, and then a little shady and flatter underneath. So that's what I'm going for. So take your stomper brush or your paper towel, because we all have those, right? They all serve the same function. It's something that I can put paint on and I can dab, 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 dab. I don't know what I was trying to say there. Dop, dab. Dab, 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 dab. Okay. With that and clean white. I'm going to get some clean. It's so hard to see because it's white. I'm going to get some white on there, and then I'm going to tap, tap off to the side. Okay. And I feel like I want a cloud right here. Set this down. Okay. I want a cloud right here. So I'm going to tap, tap, tap. Remember, nice and bright up on the top. Tap. And they're very irregular shaped. A little more paint. Oh, that's pretty. Loading up with more paint. Ooh, nice bright white on the top. I'm just tap, 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 tapping. Tap, 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 tapping. So I'm tap, tap, tapping along that top edge. And then as I run out of paint, I'm coming down. Okay. So now I'm going to, because I want it to be nice, bright, and white on the top, and then I want it to be a little shady on the bottom, I'm going to take that same stamper, that same tapper, and I'm using phthalo blue because that's what I've used in my sky. Phthalo blue is so powerful. I want just the tiniest bit. So I'm going to take, ooh, with that same stamper. Oh, too much. Way, way, way too much. Just the tiniest bit. Okay, so I'm going to come over here in my white. I want it to be just a really, really, really light baby blue. I can always go darker, but once I have it too dark to start with, it's hard to go back from that. Okay, so again, clouds are bright white on the top. They're a little shady underneath, shady and flat. So in that wet white, about halfway down with my blue, I'm going to tap, tap, tap and blend a little bit. Tap, tap, tap. Here we go. All right, look at that. It's a cloud. Now the thing we love about clouds. Oh, no. So Amy asked, should there be little peaks of paint on the canvas? I have little peaks of paint, right? I have a lot of paint up there because I want that nice crisp edge up there. So yeah, I have a lot of paint. I have peaks of paint. So I'm going to, I want to put another cloud maybe right here in front. I'm going to take that paper towel and refold it. Put that blue paint on the inside. You can get a different paper towel if you want, but I'm gonna reuse the same one. I refolded it and put the mess on the inside. So now I have a brand new paper towel. And I'm gonna do the same thing again. Clean white. And I feel like I might want one right here. So clean white. Tap, tap, tap. Ooh, look at that contrast. Having that bright white cloud in front of that other cloud. Yeah, it's funny you said that, Amy. I have peaks of paint on mine too. I have that texture that I'm getting from that paint. Okay. Tap, tap, tap. So if you're not enjoying the clouds that you're creating, send them back into the background, right? Get that big brush, go back, use that same brush stroke you used earlier. That my brush stroke is very infinity sign. Oh, show with the brush, please. Absolutely. It's the same kind of thing. If you're using a brush, if it's in your water cup, dry it out. And when you dry it out, I'm going to dry it out really good. Okay? I'm drying it out really good because I want to make sure it's splayed out. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing I did with the paper towel. I'm going to get some clean white. I'm tap, tap, tapping, loading it up with white. And I'm going to tap, tap, tap. Kind of beating up that canvas. Tap, tap, tap. I bet you can hear it, huh? Tap, tap, tap. Ooh, that's a big cloud bank. So clean white first. And then the teeniest bit of blue to get a nice baby blue. Clouds are poofy on the top, flatter and shaded on the bottom. Tap, tap, tap. Now, clouds are something you could spend a lot of time on. You could do a little darker and a little darker and a little darker. I've seen people work on clouds all day and do, 15 shades to get it darker. These are just real basic because we do have a time limit on our class. So these are just real basic clouds. But the thing I love about them, about these clouds, is you do a couple, one in front of the next, in front of the next, and then we move on from there. If you're gonna do more than one cloud, I like to have the first one be a little smaller so it's a little further away. I didn't necessarily achieve that today. It's okay, it is what it is. But it would be nice now if I wanted to take the time, I get another cloud here. Oh, you could do so many things. If you wanted it to look a little stormy, a little otherworldly, you could add a little purple up underneath your clouds. If you wanted it to look kind of stormy and like there's something rolling in, you could add a little bit of black or even brown up underneath to shade your clouds. The next time you go for a drive, look up in the sky and check out the clouds. I was watching them today, and this is very much what happened today. Those big poofy clouds, nice and bright on the top, shady on the bottom. So again, we could take all day working on clouds. How about 8, 10 we'll move on. 8:10, we'll move on. We'll put some trees here in the background. I'll show you how to do that. And then we'll move on to that truck. And I'm sorry if, I know a couple people have messaged, they feel like I'm moving too fast. This is a really, not necessarily complicated painting. We're breaking it down into steps, but there are a lot of steps. So just remember, you can go back and access this tomorrow on YouTube. I will have it posted there. And when it's posted, I will put it up on Crooked Door Studio Facebook. So let's take another 8 minutes, get those clouds the way you want them, and we'll move on. So 8:10, we'll move on. That's funny, Danielle. I just saw your comment. The problem with working outside is bugs and gnats. You are not wrong there. That is a problem. That is accurate. But you know, that's when your painting just turns into mixed media. You get a little texture in there from little gnat bodies. Happens. Can you tell I've been there before? Oops. Okay. Another 5 minutes. We'll move on. I'm super excited to see how that truck looks on there. So excited. So 5 minutes. So I see someone just asked the comment, thanks Mandy, do you need your sky dry and your grass dry? No. No, those don't need to be dry. I'll let you know when it's time to go to the blow dryer. So the way we're going to move forward, we're not yet, you still have 4 or 5 minutes. The way we're going to move forward, I'm going to put some trees along my horizon line. It's optional, but it's something I want to show you. I know, Mandy, I'm a heavy painter too, right? I have so much paint on there. So the way we're going to move on, we'll put the trees along the horizon line, and then we're going to come in and we're going to paint the truck black first. And I know I keep alluding to, I'll tell you why we're going to do that. Let's talk a little bit about that. So we're going to paint it black first, because if you have gotten paint from the studio, the paint that we use is student grade paint. That means it's really inexpensive for me to buy, but that also means it's very transparent. The only two opaques, the only two solids that we have in our palette are black and white. Those are the only two. So if I were to try to just put a red truck over top of this, you would see all the brush strokes in my red. You would see the green underneath. You would have to paint that truck red 2 or 3 different times to get a nice solid, and you may never achieve that, to get a nice solid red. I know a lot of us are buying our own supplies now, our own art supplies, which is fantastic. So let's talk about, if you're going to go buy your own art supplies, let's talk about paint. So you may see 2 tubes of paint at the art supply store. They look the same, right? They're the same size. There are very few differences in them. You have 2 tubes of red, but one's $2 and one's $20. And you might think, why would I spend $20 on a tube of paint when I can get it for $2? The difference is, and the tube of paint will say this, the difference is professional artist grade versus student grade. Student grade, it's what we use at the studio. It's very transparent, so you have to use a lot of it to achieve the look you want. Professional grade is nice and solid. I could put 1 brush stroke of red on there and have a nice, firm, solid red. So that's usually the difference. The difference is in the level of pigment that's in those 2 different tubes of paint. And I don't know why I said pigment that way. That was weird. Sorry. But so little bit of knowledge for you. There you go. So for our truck, back to what I started to say, for our truck, we're going to paint it black first, to give it that nice solid base. That'll cover up our green lines. That'll cover up everything we need to do. We'll let it dry. Mandy, that's when you might go to the blow dryer if you're a heavy, heavy paint user, right? To blow dry that black. And then we'll lay the red back over top of it, okay? If you take a minute and look at the original painting, it's on Facebook. Take a look at the original painting. You can kind of see black underneath that red. Now, that's a watercolor painting, I do believe, and they've probably mixed a little bit of black in with their red, but we're gonna get the same kind of look with the way we're gonna do it. So, how about 2 more minutes, and we'll move on and put some trees off along the horizon line. Oh, 1 more minute, according to the clock on my stove. 1 more minute. Okay, here we go. So I want to put some trees that are along the horizon line, and they're way off in the distance. Okay, so I'm going to use my, remember when you're not using your brushes, they live in the water cup, right? You don't want them to dry out. I'm going to use a medium-ish brush, right? If you got your brushes from me, this would be the filbert or the flat, just something smaller, okay? Not my pointy, not my liner brush, not my small round, but just something flat, okay? So if we squint our eyes and look way off in the distance at a line of trees along the horizon, they're just kind of like bumpy flow, not going to be much thicker than maybe my finger, maybe my thumb. They're not going to be much higher than, I don't know, probably not 3/4 of an inch or an inch, right? Because they're way off in the distance. So let's start with the guys back there on our lighter green, our limier green hill for me, the hill that's further in the distance. I have a medium brush. If your brush is, if it's a filbert, if it's round, I'm going to use it just like that, just like flat, like that. If you have a flat brush that's not rounded on the end, you can turn it and use it skinny ways. Okay, but what we're going to do, I want to find that same color. So remember how we did that? It was a lot of yellow, little bit of green, little bit of white, okay? Lot of yellow, little bit of green, little bit of white. Okay, got a weird funky little puddle of stuff going there on my canvas. But I'm gonna take that brush and I'm just gonna press it down and move on. I'm kind of tapping and moving along. Right on the horizon. Let me get a little close so you can see. So I know my truck is going to be over here, so I'm not too worried about that. But maybe I have a tree. Oh, maybe this is a big oak tree. Tap, 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 and back down. right along my horizon. What if the next time I use a little more green? Oh, that's pretty. Tap, tap, tap. Little tiny tap, tap, taps. Tap, tap, tap. I'm going to go all the way down to this hill. Okay? I'm just tap, tap, tapping. You can turn your brush and use it skinny ways. You can use it flat ways. Same thing is achieved. Tap, tap, tap. Again, not more than about an inch. And I'm going right down to my horizon line. Tap, tap, tap. Sometimes you have to say that when you paint to remember what you're doing. Tap, 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 tap. This is not a swishy time. This is a tap, tap, tappy time. I'm going to go right down, to that other hill. Okay. Using mainly the colors that I used in that hill. I had a little more green for a little variation, but mostly those colors. So a lot of yellow, tiny green, tiny white. Now, if you got down into your hill a little bit and it got a little messy, I'm gonna take that brush and just do a little shush, little shushy shush, swoosh. Clean that right up. Okay. Oh, that's lovely. Remember, it's way off in the distance. It's the idea of trees back there. Something you could do, you don't have to, but you could, if you want them to look a little more tree-ish, you can take the other end of your brush, and while it's wet, you can scratch. So it looks like, it's so hard to see, it's so subtle, but it looks like little trees back in there where you can see like little lights, the trunks of some, maybe a couple branches where the sun's hitting them. I'm just scratching the paint while it's wet, little up scratch marks. Okay. That's something that if we were painting in oil paint stays wet a lot longer. Oil paint stays wet for weeks, if not months. I have some oil paintings that I've been working on in my studio here that are 6 weeks old, and they're still wet. So that's a technique that we like to use in oil painting, going back and scratching in the paint because it's still wet. Acrylic dries pretty quickly, so if you're going to do that, if you're going to scratch some tree limbs and things in there, you got to move pretty fast. Okay, so now with green and white, the colors, I'm not going to rinse it out. The colors that we used for this hill, let's go ahead and do the same thing. No yellow. I have yellow on my brush, but I'm not going to get any more. Just green and white. What did we do for that hill? Did we do half and half? Half green, half white? And I'm doing the same thing. For perspective, since this hill is closer, you might want to go a little bigger, but don't go crazy. Unless you want to. That's up to you. So tap, tap, tap. I'm letting the top edge of that brush letting that edge of that brush, that's why I love my filbert, right? Letting that create the peaks of my trees. Tap, tap, tap. It's a little taller, a little shorter. Come right over in front of that other hill. And again, I know my truck is going to be maybe about a little further than a third of the way over. So I have to take my trees that far, if not a little further. And again, if you want to add something, if you want to add some trunks, some branches, use the other end of that brush, that plastic or wooden metal end, just scratch. There we go. If you're having a spot where you can see through your trees, like right here where this back hill comes down to the front hill, I'm adding just a little bit of white because remember, all our paint's transparent. So I'm adding a little more white right there. Ooh, that's nice. Adding some little highlights along my trees. But the white that we use is called block out white, and that's going to camouflage nicely. That's going to cover up whatever's going on in the background. And then I'm going to just swoosh right here along the hill line. Clean that right up. There we go. Oh, too much white. I'm going to tap, tap, tap that and blend it a little more. I'm so excited you all are here tonight. I feel like we're all learning new things tonight. It makes me happy. I know what painting does for my heart, what it does for my mental health. So I hope it makes you feel better. We can forget for just a little bit about what's going on in the world right now, right? It's just us and our paint. Okay. So how about 8:30? It's 8:21. 8:30, we'll move on to that truck. And again, we're going to do the truck in black first. And then we'll take a nice long drying break. We're going to put all the basic shapes down in black first. We'll take a nice long drying break. Might need to get the blow dryer at that point when we're done with the black. And we'll go from there, okay? All right. So 8:30, we'll move on. So that gives us 9 minutes, okay? And I'm not worried about this being dry when we move on because I know the black will cover. The black will take over whatever's wet there. The black will cover it up, okay? So 8:30. Oh, about another 5 minutes and we'll move on. For our next step, you need maybe one of your smaller brushes, like the one we just used for the trees, and black. We're going to need a decent amount of black. And we're going to break that truck down into shapes and just paint the shapes on there first. Let it dry, and then we'll go back over with red, okay? So about 4 minutes. We'll move on. So a couple reminders. Check out the chat feature. Our canvas is supposed to be dry. No, they don't need to be dry. That black, when we put it on, the black will cover. After the black, you might need to get it dry. You might need to go to a blow dryer then. Not till after the black. So make sure and check out the chat feature. I've posted some things over there. And again, when this is over, you won't have access to the chat feature anymore. So make sure and check out the links that I put up. Scroll all the way to the top. I put a link for how to donate to the studio through both Venmo and PayPal. I didn't put this in the chat feature, but if you need supplies, let me know. I have a locked cabinet closet at the back breezeway of the studio that I'm providing supplies for a minimal fee. And then, check out over in the chat feature. Make sure you copy and save the YouTube link because we're also filming this tonight on my GoPro. So hopefully, if all is right with the world, when this is all said and done, I will take the GoPro video, which will be a much clearer video than the Zoom video. I will post that up tomorrow. I'll post that link up on the YouTube channel. So make sure you're checking out that YouTube channel link in the chat box. Okay. Something I haven't mentioned either, when our painting class is done tonight, there will come a point that I will call it done. I will call an ending time, and then I will give you 1 hour. You'll have exactly 1 hour to private message a selfie. I would love to see you, of you and your painting. Send that via private message to Crooked Door Studio Facebook. And then you'll have 1 hour to do that. At the end of that hour, I will take all the pictures I've received and I'll put them together in a group collage and a group video that I can then put out on Crooked Door Studio Facebook for everybody to see and share. Okay? So 2 more minutes, we'll move on to that truck. Excuse me, you need a smaller, like your medium brush, the one we've been using. Does anyone know what type of truck this would be? I don't know. What kind of truck is this? Old farm truck, that's what I'm calling it, right? Ford. Ford. Somebody commented and said Ford right away. Yep, Ford. All right, Mandy, looks like a Ford. Oh, 1954 Chevy, Shelly said. Shelly, is that the kind of truck you have? Is your truck a 54? Yep, 54 Chevy. So, yeah, mine's just going to be an old beater farm truck. 49 Ford. 4 on the floor with a grand of gear. All right. You guys in your trucks, you carry on. Mine's just going to be an old truck that I would drive to the farmer's market to get flowers in. I love the comments that are coming in. So let's take another minute. We need, oh, Mater. Mater's a tow truck though. I don't know. You could put the hook and stuff in the back and make it Mater. I don't know. So another minute or so, we'll move on. You need one of your medium brushes. Maybe your pointy brush, maybe not yet though, and black, okay? Oh my goodness, everybody has their own idea of what kind of truck this is, and that makes my heart happy. Okay, another minute, we'll move on. Okay, so here we go. Let's go ahead and paint our truck on there. Let's break it down into shapes, okay? Black first, again, because the paint that we're using, the paint that I'm using, and if you got paint from the studio, we're using the same thing. The paint that we're using is very transparent. The red is going to be super transparent. So if I just put red on there, you'll be able to see the green lines. You'll be able to see through that red. You'd have to do like 3 coats of red to be able to cover. So I want to do black first to give it a nice solid base. We'll let it dry. And then we'll put red on top, okay? So one of my medium brushes, it's really whatever brush makes you happy. If you want to sketch with your pointy brush, you can, but I'm going to use my medium filbert that I just used for my trees, okay? And if we squint our eyes and look at the picture, look at that truck, we have, let's do the tailgate first. Okay, so the top of the tailgate is about where this hill, my front hill, comes across. It's not going to go halfway. I don't want to split my painting in half. I want to stop shy of that. So maybe a little more than a third, less than a half. So I have some black. Right around the top-ish of that hill. And I'm just gonna draw it on there first. So I'm gonna put a box there. Not halfway, more than a third. I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna leave 4 fingers underneath. Okay. About a big fat 4 fingers. That might even be a full hand. But fat 4 fingers underneath. This is the tailgate of my truck. Feels so permanent putting black on there, doesn't it? Whew. Okay. And we're going to fill it in. So I'm not going to fill it in yet. I'm going to give you all the shapes because I think it will be easier to see if I just have the shapes on there. But ultimately, we're going to fill it all in solid. Okay. So above that, it's about as wide as my brush, about a 1/4 inch wide. This is where the top part of the tailgate sticks out a little further. Verp. Sticks out about a finger width further. About. Again, this is going to be your truck. Okay. And then let's split this box in half so we can find a 1/4. So a 1/4 of the way down, that's where my, the word is escaping me. If you have the word, let me know. My wheel well, the part that I would step on to get in the bed of the truck, there at the side where the wheel is. And it's an old truck, right? So it's going to be big and fat. Urgh. Fender, thank you. I'm like, the word is escaping me. I couldn't get it. Okay. And on the original painting, this goes all the way down. I don't know that mine's going to. I might call the bottom right there, right? Because then I would have a tire here on the ground. And then you might be able to see under the truck there. Now all of this I'm going to paint in black. So let's take a moment and do that before we do the top. And as you paint this in black, you don't want any big rolls of paint that are going to take forever to dry. So I'm making sure while I'm getting a nice smooth even coat, I'm making sure and smoothing all the paint boogers out. Because if I have red on my brush next and I run my red through a black paint booger, it's going to turn everything a lot darker than I want. And let me show you, I did a little bit of playing earlier. Let me show you. Oh yeah, if you go all the way down, just paint it all black. We'll just have a big fat bumper down there. And I might end up doing that. I'm not sure what's going to happen down there. We'll see. So I painted black. I know some of you are trying to look at the painting. So I painted, this is black paint. If I paint just red without a base, so it would just be white underneath it, it's very transparent and very see-through. But if I paint red over top of dry black, it gives it a nice deep shadowy base. So that's why we're doing it this way, okay? Because this red here, without anything under it, it's very wishy-washy, very transparent. So we want that nice solid base of black underneath it. I think that'll help with the old factor too. Right? Help it look a little more like an old farm truck. Okay, so I'm filling it in. And this is where we have the conversation. Should I wrap it around the side? Up to you. I think I'm going to. I'm going to paint that side black where my truck is. The trick will be if I remember to paint it red. It's the coon hour. So we're at home. We're painting from my kitchen right now, and I live out in the country. And I just heard this otherworldly noise. And I'm like, what? Oh, it's going on 9 o'clock. It's the coons coming out. It's our raccoons. We have big old Catalpa trees. You'll see Catalpa trees. A lot of people call them cigar trees. A lot of really old farmsteads have Catalpa trees because they were grown. There were actually Catalpa tree salesmen back years and years and years ago, because Catalpa trees would grow really straight and really fast, and they were perfect for fence posts. So you could grow them either as a fence row, or you could grow them and cut them, and in a couple years have plenty of wood for fence posts. Well, because they grow so fast, they tend to hollow out pretty early, and we have a couple Catalpa trees that are hollow. They're older than dirt, but they're nice and hollow, and the raccoons have decided to make the Catalpa trees, the hollowed out spaces, their homes. So this time of night, this time of the day, I should say, I start hearing these real weird noises. Feels like I'm living in a Stephen King movie. And it's our coons. More than you wanted to know, right? But if you know me, you know there isn't anything I won't share. I will just share everything that comes out of my brain. Okay, so I have decided I'll have a big bumper there, and I'm going to turn this into a tire for now, I think. I may change my mind later. And remember, smooth out any black paint boogers you have, because you want that to dry pretty quickly so we can put red over top. Okay, that'll be my tire. I'll put some tread on there later. Okay, there we go. So that's from the top of the tailgate down. Let's go ahead and work from the top of the tailgate up. Now, the thing to remember, old pickup trucks like this, they had a window in the back of the cab. So we don't want to paint it solid up there because we want to be able to see through that window a little bit. We might cover it all with flowers later, but let's try and remember to not paint it solid so we have a little bit of blue sky through there. Because you would see through that window in the cab of the truck, through the windshield to whatever's in front. This is the point of the evening where I turn this all into interpretive dance, right? Okay, so the cab is not as tall as that original box for the tailgate. I'm going to come in about a thumb width from that original box line. Okay, about a big fat thumb. And I'm going to go up, up, straight up. Well, straight's relative, right? Straight up. And where's my that original box? Up. Up, 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 curve, over. I might go a little higher. Maybe just a little. Maybe just the width of the brush. Okay. So that's the shape. But now I want to do this same shape smaller on the inside. That's going to be my window. So let's do that same shape, over, curve, down, straight across. That's my window that I'm not going to fill in. Okay. So I'm going to paint around that. I'm going to leave that so I can see that blue sky, but I'm going to paint around black. Okay, once you're done painting this all black, you know what? We'll do one more thing before we take a drying break, because we're going to use black also. I love that this painting, that there's a flag right here. I'm going to go ahead and put the pole for the flag so it can be drying too. You don't have to put a flag if you don't want, but it feels like a good time to do that. Okay, so I'm going to paint this black. Smooth out all those paint boogers. It's funny, I will say something straight and realize not straight at all, because when I paint at the side, I tend to go downhill. So every now and then I got to get in front of it. But that's my reminder to you to every now and then change how you're looking at it. Sometimes get up, walk away from it, then come back and look at it. That's an important part of the process, because you're sitting, what, 12 to 16 inches away from this painting for hours. You'll start to tear it apart, right? So you got to get away. So I have this all painted black. I've got my lovely window there. I'm smoothing out all those black chunks, all those black paint boogers. I'm going to do one more thing and then we're going to let it dry. We're going to take a nice long drying break. You can use your brush you've been using if it has a really nice chisel edge, or you can go to a pointy brush. But I want to put a flagpole on there. And the flagpole is coming from right around here. It's like in the edge of the truck right there. I'm just kind of mapping it out before I do it. I like to map it to get an idea where it's going to live. And I think it's going to live right here, because then I'll have my flag hanging down. So it's going to start right here in this corner. Again, you can use your pointy brush if you want. I'm using the brush I've been using because it's nice and chiselly. And I don't know that I'm going to go solid black. I might add a little bit of white to it. Make it a nice dark gray. Again, up to you. You don't have to do a flag if you don't want. Oh, that's nice. Oh, I might go a little higher. There we go. Oh, that'll be lovely, because then my flag will hang down this way. Perfect. Oh, I love it. Okay. So it's 8:45. How about 9 o'clock? We'll all come back together. That gives us a good 15-minute drying break. So if you need, now would be the time to find a blow dryer or find an empty plate to kind of wave it dry. We'll come back together at 9 o'clock. Okay? You guys are doing so good. I keep looking over at the computer and I can see you all, because I have you on gallery view, and I can see you all just working away. And that makes my heart happy. So be sure, again, check out the chat feature. The chat function over at the side, it will disappear once class is over tonight. You won't be able to access it. So make sure you're checking out the chat feature. Scroll all the way to the top. There are links to donate. And then I've also posted the YouTube link so you can watch this video tomorrow. I'm hoping to have it posted tomorrow. Okay? So 14 minutes. At 9 o'clock, we'll move on. So I'm going to go get a beverage. Make sure you're drinking your water. Take a potty break. Get up, move around a little bit. That's an important part of the process. You got to get away from your painting, because you'll tear it apart. So move away from it. And then we'll come back together in 14 minutes. Thanks. Andrea, I saw your comment about the catalpa trees in the neighbor's yard. So I live just outside of Ferrisburg, so we're country neighbors, kind of, right? The flashing light at the pit stop in Ferrisburg. I live about 1.5 miles outside of that, and our catalpa trees, when they bloom, they are stunning, absolutely stunning. And I know a lot of people don't like catalpa trees because they leave quite a mess. People call them cigar trees because they have these pods that are long and they're just ridiculous to try to clean up. And then when it sheds its leaves in the fall, the leaves on a catalpa tree, I kid you not, they are twice, if not 3 times the size of my head. They're these big heart-shaped leaves and they're gorgeous. But if you're someplace where you have to rake your lawn, they are not your friend because they are obscenely huge and obscenely messy. But man, are they pretty, and do they smell good. We're beekeepers, and it's usually right around June 13th. It's right around my mother-in-law's birthday when the catalpa trees bloom. Oh yeah, stand by, Bobby. Bobby just asked a question about flowers. When the catalpa trees bloom in the spring, they do look like giant green beans, Kim. They're ridiculous because they're like this long. And in the fall, when they're all dried and fallen on the ground, they're crunchy. You can walk across them, it's very crunchy. But man, when they bloom, the bees from our hive, the sound is amazing. It's almost vibrating. There are so many buzzing bees in those catalpa flowers because they're these big, beautiful white. These big, beautiful white, almost like orchid-looking flowers. Okay, I will go ahead and post the YouTube link again. Oh, they smell, they do smell. It's just a real light perfumey smell, though. It's lovely. It's what I identify in my mind as spring. So yeah, catalpa flowers are gorgeous. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and post the YouTube link again. If you check out Facebook, yes, Bets, I am recording tonight. Did you just join, honey? I am recording tonight. I will be able to post it up on YouTube tomorrow. So watch Crooked Door Studio Facebook. Oh, goodness. Okay, so about 10 more minutes, we'll move on. Make sure this is dry. Make sure you don't have any rolls of paint or paint boogers. Smooth them out if you do. You're right, Andrea, they sort of do smell like honeysuckle, but it's a real soft springtime smell, right? And the honey that comes from bees that have been in catalpa trees, it's lovely. It's real light. It's quite lovely. As opposed to, I have random knowledge. I'm one of those people, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Jack of all trades, master of none, right? I have a little bit of knowledge on everything. Honey from bees that have been in like buckwheat or sorghum, that honey is real dark, like almost molasses. But the honey that comes from catalpa bees, it's lovely. It's so light and beautiful. You'll be over when we harvest. I will take you up on that because that is not a pretty job. That's a sticky job. Okay, so 8-9 minutes. We'll move on. I'm gonna go get a beverage. Take a little break. Stretch your legs. About 8 minutes, we'll be back. So I see, before we move on, I see the comment that what if like the tire looks too long, that you have too big of a gap? We have a couple options there. You can make this section, you can bring it down a little further because we're going to put a big fat bumper across there. So that's going to hide a lot. Or we're going to put flowers down here in the corner. I wouldn't be afraid to put flowers all the way down across the front if you need to do some camouflaging stuff down there. Okay? But those are a couple options. So right now I say we go ahead and move on. So my black is dry. Nice and dry. Let's go back to that same brush, that medium-ish brush. And now we're going to work in red. We're going to lay the red right over top. So I want to get all that black out of that brush. Tap, tap, tapping in the cup. Tap, tap, tap. And dry it off on my paper towel. That action of tapping in the bottom of the water cup, that usually knocks the paint out of it. Okay. So now with red, let's start at the top. And it's just straight red with that medium-ish brush that I've been using. So I'm going to make a little line here. I want to leave a little bit of black show above that window. And I'm going to paint the rest of it red. Use long, smooth brush strokes. Again, because that red is so transparent, you're going to see every place you put your brush down and pick it up. So I'm going to do long, smooth brush strokes. Look how long and smooth those brush strokes are. Okay. Oh, I love that with the black underneath it. It's a nice solid base. But again, long, smooth brush strokes. Okay, and then I'm going to come straight across the bottom here. Changing, and now I'm going side to side. We'll come back in a little bit and add little white highlights and little black defining marks. But our goal right now is to fill it in. I left that little bit of black there because it looks like the headliner in the truck, maybe. Long, smooth brush strokes. Not using a ton of paint. And I'm painting in the contour of what I'm painting. That sounded weird. This is a long, the top part of the tailgate. I'm doing one long brush stroke left to right. When I get down here to the fender, I'm following that contour out and around and down. Out and around and down. It's helping shape my truck. If I get in here and just paint squiggle, squiggle, and go crazy, well, then that's what I have. I have crazy. Which there's place for crazy, but it might not be that place. So I'm following the contour of what my shape is. So that fender nice and round, so round and down. Round and down. Long, smooth brush strokes. I can't emphasize that enough. Because you will see every mark that you put, every place you put your brush down and pick it up, you'll have a little mark. So I'm not going to pick it up and put it down a lot. Now it's funny, that top is already starting to dry if I start to go back up because I haven't used much paint at all, so it's drying pretty fast. If I go back up, you can already see where it's brighter with a second coat. You can do a second coat or not. That is entirely up to you. I may not do a second coat because I love the darkness that black underneath is giving everything. Okay, now I'm on my tailgate. So I'm going to paint it like a box. Over, down, and across. Over, down, and across. Again, long, smooth brush strokes. You can see the way I'm painting my tailgate. I'm painting it like a box. I'm identifying where the indent is in that tailgate. This is where the Ford would be, right? The RD of the Ford, I think. I don't know. I know nothing about trucks. I shouldn't talk about things I don't know anything about. Is that just Chevy? I don't know. But you know what I mean, that panel right across there. Because of the way I'm painting it and filling it in, I can kind of already see where it's going to be. Remember, long, smooth brush strokes. Ooh, I like it. I like it, I like it. It looks like an old farm truck. Okay, let's take a minute and finish that in. And then while we're in the red, we'll let that dry. And then you can decide if you want to put another coat of red on it. That's up to you. Or whatever color you're using, you can decide. But you have to let it dry. If you're going to do more than one coat, I don't think I am because I like to see that black underneath it. But if you have decided you need to do more than one coat, you have to let it dry in between coats. If you try, oh, excuse me, if you try to put more paint on now, you're going to want to, your brush is going to pick up half-dried paint and it's going to start to get messy. So you got to let it dry in between coats. Okay, so let's take another minute, finish that red in, and then I think I'm going to put some stripes on my flag maybe. We'll get that process started. If you're unhappy with how your red looks, let it dry, give it another coat. Mine isn't perfect. If you get up close and personal on mine, you can see, ooh, look at all those brush strokes. Kind of a hot mess. I kind of like it because I think it adds texture and character to my painting. But if you're not a fan, if you don't like that, let it dry, give it another coat. That second coat looks good, okay? And this is what, the second step? We still have a couple more steps to go on that truck. Okay. Again, I know we all paint at a different pace, at a different level, but remember, this video will be posted up tomorrow for you to go back and reference. If you feel like you don't like the direction your painting is going in, maybe take a break. Put the brushes down. Finish some other time. Sometimes, even for me, sometimes painting just doesn't work out. I get incredibly frustrated and it's not happening the way I need it to happen. So take a break, move away, come back at this point tomorrow in the video and pick it back up again when you're fresh. I know, I feel it. Somebody's commenting that they're on the struggle bus right now, and it's not worth it. If you're starting to get really frustrated, you gotta walk away, okay? You'll start to go downhill, okay? So put it away, come back to it tomorrow. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry a little bit. I have moved to a pointy brush, okay? I have moved to a pointy brush, and I'm going to put some stripes on my flag. We're going to have to do the flag in stages so it can dry in between, because I can't put red stripes and white stripes right after because it'll all turn pink. So let's do red stripes, and then we'll move off, let them dry, do something else, and then come back. So pointy brush. Now my flag is not sticking straight out. It's hanging down. And I know that my blue will cover up my red for the most part. Okay, and this is the idea of a flag. It's not supposed to be perfect. But if we get red and white stripes on there and a little patch of blue, we will know it's the American flag. Our brain will tell us that. So I have my pointy brush with red, and I'm going to map it out. Remember how I thought about it and I mapped out where that pole was going to go? I'm going to map out what I think this is going to look like. This is going to go like that. Maybe? Kind of a really loose, relaxed S. Like that. So there's one. I'm going to keep the same, that same shape the whole time for all of my stripes. I'm going to come back and put a little squiggle of blue over that in a little bit. But let's just do the red stripes right now. And they're getting a little longer each time. How many stripes are there? 13? I forget. I forget how many stripes are on the flag, but this is the idea of a flag. If I try to put all the stripes on there that belong on the flag, it's going to be too much. So it's the idea of, because our flag is blowing in the wind, right? It's just the idea of, did you hear my Gertrude? Did you hear my dog barking? The coons are teasing her. They're walking across the driveway right now. Okay. I think I'm going to call that. I'm going to call it. I'm going to pop that brush in my water cup. Let that dry. Okay. And I'm going to go check on the bulldog while you guys work on your flag. It's just the red stripes right now. We'll let them dry. We'll put the white and the blue on in a minute. Okay. Now might be the time, though, if you have decided that your truck needs another coat, now might be the time to put a second coat of paint on there. So it's 9:15, 9:20. I'll be back. We'll talk more about the truck, about putting some detail on it, putting some flowers in the truck bed, doing those other things, okay? So 5 minutes, and that'll give me time to figure out what the bulldog is doing, okay? 5 minutes. Again, the flag is just red stripes right now, nothing else. We have to let it dry. All right, 5 minutes. Okay, 2 more minutes and we'll move on at 9:20. Sorry for my absence. Bulldog's chasing a raccoon. My disabled bulldog was trying to chase a raccoon, so coon made it away. All right, 2 minutes. You should, again, just have the red on the flag. We have to let it dry before we put the white stripes and the blue field on. You could decide now's the time to put another coat of red on your, or another coat of color on your truck, whatever your color is. I know some of you are painting different colors, which is lovely. But 2 minutes, we'll move on. 1 minute, we'll move on. Okay, let's get ready and move on. Let's put some detail on that truck. Find your pointy brush. So again, I'm using my round pointy brush. Mine's a number 5. Yours might be a number 8 or a number 3. The bigger the numbers, the bigger the brush. So I have a 5. But the most important part is getting one that has its act together, that is nice and pointy and isn't all splayed out and crazy. Okay, so with my pointy brush, I want to take a little bit of black and let's put some defining marks on this truck. So I want to come down here beside the fender. I'm gonna put a little mark there, straight down. And this would be the bottom of the tailgate, right across there. Oh, I like it. Bottom of the tailgate, fender. If you're feeling adventurous, you could do a little bit of shading in there. Do a little bit of shading under here. And by shading, all I mean is I'm taking that little bit of paint that's on my brush and I'm just kind of dry brushing down a little bit. Just scribbling down a little. Okay. Lovely. Let's go. So we've gone alongside the fender and across the bottom. We're identifying where our tailgate is. So remember this part that we put out here, the top part of the tailgate, this part that came out, whoop, a little bit further. Let's go right underneath that with a little bit of black. Let's get a line right across there. Oh, it's coming together. Looking like a truck. So I've just come right underneath that sticky out part. Verp. You can do all of this or none of this. It's entirely up to you. I'm going to do a couple. This would be like a little indent in the tailgate of my truck. A little indent there. I'm just using the tiniest bit of black paint. It's very swishy. There's nothing specific about it. I'm just creating where those natural creases in the metal would be. Okay, I want another one right here. That's where the Ford would go, or the Chevy, up to you. I'm gonna go right across this piece too. Ooh, there we go. Oh, it's starting to turn into something. I like it. Okay. Now, mine has a tire. Yours may not have a tire. The original painting doesn't have a tire. But if you have a tire, what if we take a really dark gray and we put hatch marks on that. So I'm going to do, it's a bunch of X's. I'm going to do a bunch of diagonal lines, both directions all the way down. Just hatch marks on my tire. Let me show you what I mean. And you may not have a tire, and that's okay. I have a dark gray, and I'm going to draw a bunch of diagonal lines this way. And then I'm going to go back and draw a bunch of diagonal lines the other way. Just adding a little bit of texture to that to help it look like tread. Okay. I'm not spending a lot of time on it. Just putting it on there and moving away. Okay, and now that we have the dark on there, wherever there is dark, there is light. So now, what if I clean that pointy brush out and I take a little bit of white? And what if I go, oh, this is going to be shocking because it's white, but with the tiniest bit of paint on that brush, and I think where the light is hitting that truck, it's going to give me a lovely little highlight, right? Oh, there. That was so subtle and so little. Verp, right there. What if the sun is hitting? I'm going to have a little highlight right there. Oh, I might have a little highlight right there. Again, there's nothing specific about this. I'm just putting little pops of white lines where I think the light might be glinting off of that truck. Oh, I feel like it's going to hit it right there. Tiny little bit. Zerp. It's such a little thing, but it makes such a big impact when it's all done. And then bumper. We need a bumper. I think I might stick with my little brush. How big is your bumper? My bumper's going to be right across there. I'm sure I'm getting the anatomy of this truck all wrong, but that's okay. It's my truck. It's my world, right? So let's go with a medium gray, half black, half white. Just a medium gray, half black, half white. And I feel like my bumper has to be below the tailgate, right? This is where I'm going to get it wrong because I don't think it goes across the fender. I guess it depends on what kind of truck it is, right? But I'm going to put just a lovely gray. How big's my bumper? Maybe as big as the width of my thumb? Maybe. I'm using black and white, and I'm just making it very streaky. Streaky, streaky. Oh, I need a license plate. Yeah, I do. I need a license plate right there. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to put a license plate across there. So just black, just white, very streaky. That'll help it look a little silvery. I'm going to do, if I have white highlights up here, I'm going to have a little white highlight right across there. Okay. All right. So remember, this video will be posted up tomorrow. So you can access it on YouTube. You can see it there. So if there's something you didn't quite pick up, it'll be on YouTube. I know we all paint at a different pace, different levels. And I know for some of you, you feel like I'm going fast. Others are like, speed it up, lady. But that's the beauty of the video, is you'll be able to access it tomorrow and see what you missed, what you maybe want to change, different things you want to do. Okay. So now I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to take a look up here and see if my red stripes are dry on my flag, and they are not. So let's wait a few minutes. Get those details on that truck, get that bumper. If you have a tire, get some tread on your tire. Let's take a few minutes. Let's let things dry a little bit. Let's let everybody get to the same spot. And then we'll come back in, how about 5 minutes? We'll come back, we'll put white stripes in our flag, and then I'm going to start to fill that truck bed with flowers, and I'm going to put some other flowers down here in the corner, okay? So it's 9:30, 9:35. We'll come back together, and we'll maybe finish up. We'll see, okay? I know this is a long painting tonight. This is a lot of, in weeks past we've been done by now, but this one has a lot of steps, a lot of little pieces. But I really like how it's turning out. I think it's lovely. So 5 minutes, we'll move on together. So I'm going to look at my red stripes again because I've got some thick paint. And I want to smooth that out so it'll dry. There we go. Had a couple paint boogers there. Okay. So I'm going to make sure I have clean white for my flag, clean white for my daisies that I'm going to put in my truck, and daisies that I'm going to put at the bottom. And I'm going to make sure I have clean little brush and maybe a clean medium brush. So now might be the time to go get clean water again. Up to you. And 4 minutes, we'll all come back together and put some finishing touches on there. Let's get ready and move on. You need a clean little brush, a clean medium brush, and clean white paint. Okay, so let's go ahead and put white stripes on the flag, and we'll give them time to dry. So find your pointy brush. Again, this is just the idea of a flag. It's not supposed to be perfect. So I have my pointy brush. I've cleaned it out. I'm just going in between those red stripes with white. Oop. And I love the way we're painting this. I know that flag is blowing in the breeze. So there's nothing perfect about it. Some of the stripes are fatter and skinnier, and that's okay. It's blowing in the wind. So if you look at a flag blowing in the wind, it would be all different widths, and because there's so much movement. There we go. All right, something like that. Optional detail. When those stripes are done, I have the tiniest bit of white paint on my pointy brush. We talked down in the truck about highlights. Well, I feel like a highlight might hit that flagpole too, right? So I'm going to do just a little tiny shush of white partway down that flagpole. It's a subtle detail that's super hard to see, but it's there when you get up close to it. Now I'm going to let that dry and put my blue field in later once that's dry. So let's talk about where our flowers are going to go. So our flowers, they have green stems, there's greenery, and then we're going to put flowers on top. So let's do all of our greenery first. Oh, if you're going to finish, so somebody just asked if we're going to finish tomorrow. Do I want a picture tonight? Yeah, go ahead and send me what you have done. That would be lovely because I want to post the collage up tonight. Okay, so I have my pointy brush with some white, some green, maybe even a little bit of yellow, white, green, yellow. And up here in the truck, I'm going to do just random leaves, weeds that I can put flowers over top of. So right here at the top of my tailgate, I'm going to just pull up, whoop, whoop. So random. I'm just pulling up. Oops. Just pull up, up. Because I know the flowers are going to hide a lot of that, but I have to have some greenery in there. I might even have some that come down over the truck bed a little. Zoop. It's nothing perfect. It's nothing precise. It's just greenery that I can put flowers over top of. Okay? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I'm just going to whoop, whoop, whoop and move on. Right? Because again, it's just background. Okay. And then I think I want to do some down here in this corner. I'm going to do the same thing. I have my pointy brush. From that corner, I'm going to pull up and out and let go. So green, a little yellow, a little white. Oh, they're kind of hard to see because they're the same color as the grass, as the green field. So now I know somebody asked, what if we wanted to put some flowers in through here? We could do that. Let's give them some greenery first. Green, yellow, white. I feel like I want a little patch of flowers. Oop. Do them so you can see them. You don't have to do this, but I feel like I want a little patch of flowers right there. There we go. Green, yellow, white. I'm just putting, just pull up, pull up, pull up. Just all kinds of random greenery that goes on down in there. You could spend a ton of time on this, but time is not on our side tonight, right? It's getting late. I know we're all getting tired. We've been painting for quite some time now. We've been painting for 2.5 hours. That's a long time to paint. Do you know when, if you watch Bob Ross episodes, you know how long those are, right? Bob did an entire oil painting in 25 minutes. And it was funny too, because he always said, pull up your paints and paint along with me. Well, if you've done oil painting with me at the studio where we followed along with Bob, you know that's a lie, right? You cannot stay up with Bob and get a painting done with him in 25 minutes. It's absurd. But he sure is fun to watch. Okay. So again, I just keep playing in that green, yellow, white. I have different shades of green in there. Some lime, some more mint. I love the different colors of green. I'm just pulling up and letting go. Pull up and let go. So they're heavier at the bottom. My greenery is heavier at the bottom and then fades as we go up and away. Okay. Flowers. Let's put the blue field on the flag. That should be dry. Let's give this greenery a little time to dry. I'm going to take that pointy brush, clean it out. Little bit of blue. I have phthalo blue, which is that real dark blue. And I'm going to put my little blue field right there. Again, it's not supposed to be perfect. If you can see your red and white through it, add a little bit of white. That'll make that blue more solid. Okay, so there's my blue field. And then the idea of stars, right? We need stars on our flag. So I'm going to flip my brush upside down, use the other end of it, and do some little white dots up in there. Very random. Gives me the idea that it's stars. I absolutely can, Cindy. So a little closer. Okay, so there's the flag, the greenery. Okay. All right. Flowers. If you're unsure about flowers, I posted a 10-minute technique Tuesday a couple weeks ago that focused specifically on flowers. You'll find that on the YouTube channel if you go watch. But here's how I'm going to do flowers. I'm going to use, I want some bigger flowers. I'm going to use my medium brush. Clean it out. Dry it off. So for flowers, I'm going to use a little bit of white and a little bit of yellow. I'm using the other end, the metal or plastic end of my brush. A little bit of yellow and white. And I have to put the centers first so I know where I'm pulling my petals to. Again, this is a lot to cover in the little bit of time we have left. So if you want to wait for flowers and watch the 10-minute technique Tuesday, if you're unsure how to do flowers, that might be helpful. Okay, so with the other end of my brush, let's see, what greenery did I do first? I did the truck greenery first. So the truck greenery is pretty dry because I did it first. Okay, so I'm going to come in close so you can see what I'm doing. I'm putting the center of my flowers. I'm not attaching them to any of this greenery. They're just going to kind of float in that greenery. Let's see. I don't even know how many put. 6. I'm an odd bird, so let's go 7. Oh, 8. But if I do 8, I have to do 9. Let's do 9. Right there. Okay. So I have the yellow centers first. Then with I'm using my filbert. You can use a flat brush if you have one, but we're going to use them skinny ways with white and skinny ways. I have my centers so I know where to pull to. Let me get nice and close so you can see what I'm doing. So for these flowers, skinny ways, I'm going to pull in, pull up. I'm creating a plus, and then I'm going to fill in the gaps. Just like that. Ta-da, flower. Let's do another one. So I've got a lot of white on my brush. I'm using it skinny ways, and I'm going to pull in. I'm creating a plus. And then I'm filling in the gaps. There is a lot of white paint on that brush. I have like ridges of paint where I'm painting those flowers. Okay, let me do one more up close. Here we go. One. Pull in. I'm always pulling in to the middle. The kind of brush you use here is very important. I'm using my filbert. I'm using a brush that's skinny. He's about 1/4 inch wide. If you don't have a filbert, one that's rounded on the end, you can use a flat brush. You can even use, stand by, you can use your pointy brush if you want. Load it up with paint. So I have my pointy brush. I'll just get a different shape flower is all. So I have my pointy brush, load it up with paint, pull down, pull up, pull over, pull in, and fill in the gaps. Always pulling in to the middle. Okay. I want to do the same thing down here. I'm going to give myself my little yellow centers first. Yellow, little white. I'm not just using yellow because, again, the yellow is so transparent. I have to add a little bit of white to it. So I'm going to give myself lots of little flower centers down in here. You can play as long as you want in these flowers. Okay, but I know I have to put the centers first, so I know where to pull my petals to, because my petals, people have a tendency to put their brush down in the middle and pull out, and if you do that, you're creating like a fan. I want to use my brush to identify the edge, the outside edge of my petal. That's what's helping my flower petal look round. Okay. So I'm using my filbert. You could use a flat and start with a plus. Pull in, up. Pulling in, so I've created a plus, and then I'm filling in the gaps. Here we go. So keep going, keep working on those flowers. Again, I know it's been a really long night, but we've covered a lot of ground tonight. We've done a lot of amazing things. I think I'm going to keep painting a while longer. Let's call this, it's 9:51. We'll call this painting done at 10. By 11 o'clock, please private message me your painting. I would love to see your face in it, so do a selfie and send that to the studio. Private message Crooked Door Studio on Facebook by 11 o'clock. So as you paint, you keep painting. You paint as long as you want, or wait and paint some more tomorrow, because this is one of those paintings you could just continue to put details and do all kinds of fun things in it. Some different colored flowers. Bobby, I can't wait to see yours, to see if you did some different colored flowers up there. Remember, if you're going to do flowers up there, they're going to be further in the distance, so they're going to be a little smaller, right? It's all about perspective. These guys down here are going to be a little bit bigger because they're closer to us. All right, so when you're done, again, keep playing, but when you're done, don't forget to sign your painting. Artists usually sign their painting at the bottom right or bottom left, always at the bottom. I like to point out, if we have kids painting, never ever across the top middle, not unless you're going to write it in the sky and clouds and make it part of the painting. Always at the bottom corner. I love it if you have a date. So you need to figure out what your artist's signature is. Mine is S blah, 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 for my last name. And then I'll do a little tick and a 20 so I know what year. If you don't want to sign on the front, that's fine. Stretch canvases are lovely because you can sign on the edge if you want. And if you don't want to sign there, you can take a Sharpie and sign on the back. But if you do sign on the back, never here, always out here on the edge. If you sign with a Sharpie or a pen on the back here, it could bleed through over time and you'll see it on the front. So if you're going to sign on the back, make sure you sign where it's wooden. Okay? So I never sign a painting until I'm done. So I'm going to keep playing. Again, we'll call this done at 10 o'clock. So you have until 11 to send me your selfie with your painting. So I'm going to end it there tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. If you've missed anything, again, watch for the video tomorrow on YouTube. If you're looking for the YouTube channel, it's on Facebook, on Crooked Door Studio Facebook. I just posted it a couple days ago, a link to the YouTube channel. If you would like to donate to the studio, that would be lovely. The links are there on the Facebook page. So I'm going to go ahead and end there tonight. Thank you all so much for joining me. I know painting makes my heart happy. I hope it makes you happy. And I will see you next Saturday at 7 p.m. The painting will be posted tomorrow. So if you need supplies, please don't hesitate to let me know you need supplies. Okay? I have that locked cabinet at the back of the studio. All right? Thanks, guys. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.